Wominjika, Kuzazangpo, Kemcho, Salamat Pagi Abakaba, Sana Sante Bawana, Talofa. G'day, how are you? First and foremost, if you have not watched the video I posted a few days ago titled Gods, Aliens, Humans and Deception, please watch it. I know I tend to ramble on a bit and a few of you might have switched off after about 2 minutes. That's just the way I film. But watch it all the way through because there's a lot of truths close to the end. Now don't fast forward to the end. Watch it all the way through. I know it's long, but it gives an overall picture, an overall perspective of humanity and the history of humans as a species. Now, a lot of my friends on Facebook or YouTube, they're co-workers, friends I've been working with or acquaintances I've come across in the past 10, 15, 20 years. I understand that. But you also have to understand that I've been doing a lot of research into the subject of Sasquatch and Yowies and Bigfoot and aliens and cryptid creatures, and looking into the Bible and the history of humans on planet Earth and the interactions between aliens and humans. Okay, there's a lot of parallels with all religions. I don't care if it's Christian or Hinduism or Buddhism or Islam or paganism. They all link up, they all tell the story in their own way of the history of humans and what went on in our planet. Now there's a lot, most major religions even talk about flying craft and extraterrestrials coming to Earth. They don't necessarily say it's a UFO because of new words being created in the translations. But even in India and even in the Bible, they talk about flying craft, and that is UFOs, flying craft. When they say the sons of God coming down to Earth, that is the teachers, which are aliens, which come down to Earth and teach humans and humanity about crops and crop production and engineering and mathematics and geometry and the sciences, like with Leonardo da Vinci. Okay, he was taught, by my understanding, by aliens. Some call them ancient aliens, but nevertheless it's species of creatures, whether they're hominoid looking or bipedal, it doesn't matter. They have come from other planets or other solar systems or other galaxies. They have come to Earth. It's just a fact. You have to understand that even today, aliens are living on Earth. It's just a fact. It shouldn't be a way out subject. It shouldn't even be a debate. There's no debate here. It's fact. There's monoliths, there's paintings, there's carvings, there's cave paintings, even in the Bible, or monoliths, pyramid structures, cave paintings up in New Guinea or Australia, or Göbekli Tepe, wherever it is, there's cave paintings and art and monoliths and sacred mounds. For example, which talk about or which show pictures of flying craft and the interactions. It's simply a fact. We have to wake up to it. The education system we're in, it's all about consumerism and power and wealth. And your bloody, the latest iPhone or the latest television set. It's a money-based economy. It's consumerism. It's got nothing to do with well, it is, it's all history, but they don't talk about interactions of aliens. It's all very narrow, very one-sided, very, people with power and money and greed, whether it's corporations or, or governments who toe the line, the International Monetary Fund or NATO or whoever it is. It's all power and greed, and us turning into a slave race and being consumers, and money and power and the power of gold or whatever, okay? They don't talk about the broader spectrum. It's very narrow-minded, and that's why we're in such a narrow field. We only talk about what we want in life. People are, even social media platforms, people are posting their latest handbags or their trip to Europe or how much hard-working person they are, and they make these posts. Oh, I'm a real hard worker. Today's a weekend. Or I'm now going to relax. I'm fantastic. Or the latest fucking handbag, or the latest pair of shoes, or the social occasion at a bloody casino, and going out with their friends and going to this stupid fancy restaurant in which they think they're all almighty and powerful and showing off. That's just bullshit. Okay? That's the way of the world. That's the way it is now. People showing off. Okay? We have to walk back fucking 10, 15 paces. We have to walk back bloody 10, 15 kilometres and look at us from a totally different perspective, people. Stop being so obsessed with consumerism and showing off your latest handbags or how hard you're working or I've got such a fantastic home and all of that. I know I do that to a certain extent. I wish that I had the lifestyle I had 5, 10 years ago. But take a look back in history, people. I'm talking about ancient history. And what I'm talking about with regards to the Bible and various, basically all religions talk about the history on earth, and it's all basically the same storyline, whether it's the flood or whether it's flying craft or whether it's the interactions with aliens and prophets and teachings. It's all here. There's evidence on earth. Even fairy tales, fairy tales speak of histories and interactions. With a lot of fairy tales, they talk about bears and what is it? Like the brothers Grimm and Hansel and Gretel, and how they came across a witch. I believe that they actually came across a Sasquatch person, a Bigfoot creature, because a lot of the times in our history now, the brothers Grimm, a German family, 2 German brothers, they wrote Hansel and Gretel around about 200 years ago. But even 200 years ago, their description of a so-called witch, it's actually describing a Sasquatch creature with powers beyond the scope of their modern society 200 years ago, like shape-shifting and projecting feelings upon people and using orbs. I believe that because a lot of these creatures, these Bigfoot, Sasquatch, Yowie, Yeti creatures, have actually been seen holding an orb, a ball of light, within their hands, and that is a crystal ball, in my opinion. Witches or shamans or pagans who use a crystal ball and look into a crystal ball, the story has been obscured, but I believe, in my opinion, an actual crystal ball is an actual orb, an orb of light, a powerful energy source. So when people talk about witches and orbs, they're really talking about these first humans on Earth, the original humans of Earth, the Bigfoot creatures, the Yowie, the Sasquatch creatures, just like the gods and the sons of gods coming down. But even the gods themselves, the Christians or the ancient Christians saw these aliens come down to Earth and they were blown away. They were so blown away that they called them gods because they were so powerful. They had these flying craft that they used to come to Earth, and they were blown away by them. And they were so blown away that they called them gods because they were so powerful, and that's what the Bible says. Okay? So please think a bit of common sense, line up these links, whether it's an orb or whether it's a UFO, it's all links. I aren't saying Christians are stupid because of the way they've interpreted the Bible, and I aren't blaming Christians who believe in a certain way, but that's the interpretation. You have to remember that the Bible, the Christian Bible, has been translated and interpreted so many different times, and passages are missing, like the book of Enoch. Okay, so as I say, with like the great flood or the flying craft or Jesus coming down and being a prophet and teaching or parting the seas or whatever, that's the aliens coming down teaching us about engineering and crop production. It's like the Garden of Eden. The Garden of Eden only produced crops once a year, but when Adam and Eve came and the new Garden of Eden was created, the trees were able to bear fruit once a month. That's farming, that's crop production, that's changing the DNA of certain crops, whether it's wheat or corn or barley or apples or parsley or whatever it is. That's the changing of the crops and the DNA, the sciences behind altering the crops so they bear fruit more. Okay? So I'm just going to clarify a little bit in this video about my previous video, Aliens, Gods, Humans and Deception. And a lot of it is deception. A lot of the people in power in governments are deceiving the public. They're dumbing us down, okay? And even the foods we eat, massive amount of sugar and our pituitary gland changing, okay? Because we're consuming it and our bodies are changing and we're becoming more fat and overweight and massive amounts of sugar and massive problems now with like diabetes, which we didn't have a few hundred years ago. You have to take that into account, okay? There's a lot. We have to look back in our history to understand what is happening nowadays in modern society and the deception, whether it's government or corporations or people with wealth who are manipulating power and manipulating money and greed, okay? And people are wanting that greed or wanting that power. And that's why I rambled on about people showing their Facebook pages of their minute amount of wealth. It shouldn't be about that. It should be about people's, it should be more of a broader spectrum. Fair enough, you can say, hey, I bought a house and check out my new garden, but to go into such detail or to show off a new car or a new handbag, or, you know, that's just crap, in my opinion. And I know I'm bagging a lot of friends, but bad luck, people, okay? Take 10 steps backward, okay? It's okay to be that way and be engrossed with fashion or whatever. I completely understand it. But don't complain. Don't see that. Don't be blown away that there's massive droughts or massive floods in certain areas. Don't be surprised that these food shortages or crop failures or various types of COVID diseases or whatnot. You know, take a few steps backwards, and then you'll understand why we're having crop failures, why countries are going to war over oil and over energy, and the strife Europe is in. You know, especially Germany, they're going to go through hell this winter. Okay, so don't be surprised, people. Take a few steps forward, because in history, whether it's ancient history or history books like the Bible, it'll tell you where humans have been and what is happening now and why it's happening now. Okay, so don't be shocked, people. Okay. And unfortunately, people who do brag on about their job or their promotion or their new handbags, they're the people who are going to, you know, in my opinion, die first. If push comes to shove, if war comes to their doorstep, or supermarkets run out of certain foods and they panic buy. Okay? So I hope I've made a bit of sense. You know, if I've offended you, well then, you know, bad luck. But take a broader picture, a broader perspective of our ancient history and the history of humans, because it'll put everything into perspective. But not only that, think outside, as I said earlier, think outside the box. Aliens and interactions with flying craft and aliens and ETs. It shouldn't be a shock to the system. These textbooks, these artworks, these monoliths, these pyramid structures, even the fairy tales, they're telling the story of UFOs and human interactions and our DNA being changed. Okay, Adam and Eve is simply a branch line of the human species. Okay, God created Adam in his own image. That's a branch line. That's another aliens breeding with humans. Humans who've existed for hundreds of thousands of years. Man wasn't created then. Man, Adam and Eve weren't the first humans. They were simply the first human of the new race, because their DNA had changed. It's like a fork in a tree. This fork in the tree is way up high. Humans have always existed from the root system up. And Adam and Eve is simply a fork in the tree. The DNA changed. God, as in the aliens, changed the DNA. God created man in his own image. So therefore, God changed the DNA of the existing human race and created a new human race. And they simplify the story, so they say Adam and Eve were the first humans on earth, but they were the first new human with the new DNA. Okay, think about it. All right, I'm going to leave it at there. I know this is probably fairly provocative for people who aren't thinking the way I'm thinking, But look to our history and look how the people interpreted the stories, okay? It's our history is in plain sight, people. It's once you have a mindset of ancient aliens or Sasquatch humans or Junjari or Yeti humans that still live today, and ancient aliens and flying craft, then it'll become very, very clear. We aren't the only humans for starters, and we didn't start to exist. We weren't made by God, you know, at the end of the last ice age, 12,500 years ago. Okay? We have always existed and coexisted alongside these Sasquatch creatures, and even other hominoid creatures, whether it's Australopithecus blackie or Homo habilis or Neanderthal man. We've always coexisted alongside them. They're also other species of human in which Homo sapiens lived alongside. I wouldn't mind guessing that there were 10 species of humans living, and Homo sapien is only one of the 10, even today, okay? All right, I'm going to leave it at that. Thank you. So I've put away my microphone, so it's a different audio level. I'll just add that the Great Flood was actually the rising waters from the end of the last ice age. That was the Great Flood, mentioned in the Bible and various other religious groups. So just think about that as well, the Great Flood, because ice, when, you know, the last ice age, it sucked up all of the water, and all of the land was like joined together more so, and Australia joined Papua PNG and Guinea, and like Indonesia and Taiwan was joined to like China during the Ice Age, and then the Great Flood came at the end of the last Ice Age. That's the Great Flood, which is mentioned in the Bible, okay? And that was only recently, 12, 13, 14,000 years ago, okay? So that's the Great Flood, the end of the last Ice Age, and the ice caps melting and flooding the earth with more water. Simple when you have a mindset. It's a very simple understanding. Right, now I'm going to end it. Thank you.